telling me like early retirement is overhyped.
Yeah, I think because I was bored. I got a little bored there at the end. And again, I was working whatever 3 5 hours a week. I got a little bored. So a lot of people think retirement's great, which it is great. But then again, it gets a little boring. You can only whatever golf so much. You can only read the newspaper so much. Sometimes it makes a lot of sense to continue working because some people even say if you don't work, you go downhill physically and mentally.
Thank you for coming, Kenner.
You better
And
believe it. I'm glad to be here.
so like my first question is like I know like you got financial retirement, I think at the age of 40, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So my first question is like like what is the journey like how you achieved it?
Yeah, it was what I should say is I was semi-retired, and I'll explain kind of how. No, I'll just jump to it right now. So basically, what happened was we got pretty lucky. We invested in some companies that did pretty well. Plus, the big thing is one of my functional companies, which is vastsolutionsgroup.com, was it brought in enough revenue that it could be passive income. And I think that's a real way to wealth, as long as you could, basically take a long vacation, because that's what retirement is, in my opinion, and you have income coming into your mailbox no matter what, passive revenue. That's kind of the key to retirement, so in my opinion. And so what happened was vastsolutionsgroup.com grew to the extent where it provided enough passive income, plus with my investments that we had before, that luckily we got lucky on, that provided enough income to semi-retire. I was working maybe 3 5 hours a week, and just pretty recently, I got to the point where I said, well, wait a minute, I want to get back in the workforce now more than ever because of what's going on with artificial intelligence. So I'm really charged up right now. So I'm back in the workforce, but more than anything, it was really our investments plus passive income of my current company, vastsolutionsgroup.com, where I'm still at now, more actively. And that's how I was able to, quote, semi-retire.
Okay, so when you like started this company?
Well, technically, I didn't. It's hard to say I started. It basically took it over. 1969, a man, a great guy named Gary Coons, started a company in Bellevue, Washington, and basically I took that over in 2006, and rebranded it, named it Vast Solutions Group, and now it's called
Mm.
vastsolutionsgroup.com. So I really started this entrepreneurial undertaking in 2006, which again, that's allowed me to semi-retire.
Okay, okay. So you took over it like you got a loan from the bank or like you were having some money?
At the time, yeah, that's a good question. A very small loan from the bank, operational capital, which I don't know if I needed quite so much, but yeah. And by the way, there's a lot of loans out there. Generally speaking, if you have entrepreneurs who are out there who are looking for financing from banks, there's a lot of loans out there that can help you get started and probably even maintain a business going forward, a smaller business, through an SBA loan or other loans like that.
Okay, so like you, how old you were? Like 22 or something?
No, when I did that, 20, 30 something, 30 something,
Oh, okay.
35, 35. I must have been about 35 when I did that.
And before that, you were working somewhere?
Yep. I was working for a company called ING, which is at the time, a big time investment company. And I was what's called the regional vice president for them and helping to, make our territory grow. So yes, ING was the name of that employer.
Oh, okay. You were working for the ING. I think it was a like insurance company, no?
Insurance, banking, mutual funds, annuities, et cetera, et cetera. It was a great company. I don't even know if it's still around. If it's still around, I'm sure it's changed forms many times nowadays.
Okay. So and then after like, so what made you think like to left a company and start a company like the other
Mm.
company?
Yeah, killer question. Well, the best way to say it is I was 95% independent with ING, which I loved. I loved the independence, loved the company, loved the people with whom I worked. But I was, that 5% of, well, not being independent kind of drove me crazy. So basically what I did was, as an entrepreneur, or as a potential entrepreneur, I wanted to make sure that I was going to be stepping into a a good situation. So I basically set some funds aside while I was still working at ING, and that helped me to be able to kind of make that leap. So I didn't just jump into it. I tipped my toe into the water first, and that worked out really well. And I'm very happy. I haven't looked back even once at the thought of, wow, I wish I were an entrepreneur. I'm very happy being an entrepreneur.
Okay, okay. So like you basically started as a kind of side hustle, and
Mm-hmm.
then when it took off, then you're like, okay, now it's good. I can leave the company.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I think that's the way to do it. Because if someone's working for a big company, let's say someone's a software engineer, as an example of whatever, Microsoft, you know, you want to make sure, in my opinion, you want to make sure that you're jumping into something that's going to be a worthwhile venture. You're going to make money, be able to supply money for your family. And that's exactly what I did. And that's worked out 100%.
So probably I think you must be making, because you were like working in that company, you must be making like $140,000, something like that, right?
I don't know
That
what I was
time.
making, but I was making enough that it helped me to be able to, supply for my family, and at the same time, kind of get a side gig working as well. And very luckily, it worked out. I've been able to make enough money here as an entrepreneur, more so than even when I was a W-2 employee.
Okay. So like, have you also invested that time in stock market?
I have. I've invested a little bit in the stock market. More so now, I'm probably spending more money on my business than I am on the stock market or even crypto. And I think that my rate of return has probably been a little bit better, as a matter of fact.
Okay, so like you are more into mutual funds, ETF kind of thing.
No, I would say I'm more into investing in my own business because I think my rate of return is going to be a little bit better than the stock market.
Hmm. So what do you suggest to people who, like want to leave their job and do the entrepreneurial thing? Because it's not that easy, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, everybody wants to do that, like, but it's not that easy to like leave a salary which you're getting every month
Mm-hmm.
and go and jump on something, which you don't even know it's gonna work or not.
Mm-hmm. What do I say? I would say find something you're really good at and find an audience of people that would be interested in that and think of you as an expert in that field. Um, and one way of doing that is, again, doing a side hustle, but find something you're good at, have passion for, and then find an audience. So when I say audience, people who potentially would buy your product, and then hopefully they'll buy enough of your product so you can leave your W-2 job, if that's what you're looking for, doing a side hustle, because there's so many opportunities out there, and hopefully that would work out for you. I'm assuming it would.
Yeah, I agree. But actually, like most of the people, even I, or like most of the people, they are like scared, right, of leaving the job, even if they.
Believe me, it took me, I don't know, I remember at least 2 years, a little bit over 2 years to be able to leave. I was really afraid. And in the end, there was no reason to be afraid. But then again, if you have a side hustle, you can see if you're going to find the audience, if you're going to find revenue that's going to come in. And if it doesn't, stay with your side gig. By the way, or stay with your W-2 gig. And what I would say is entrepreneurialism isn't for everybody. It really isn't. Some people are afraid of potentially putting in money for an investment as an entrepreneur. Some people are. It really depends on the circumstances. I know for me, it's worked out. Some people, it doesn't make sense for them. Every person's totally different, obviously.
Because sometimes people think like, like when I'll be independent, I'm gonna do this, and then when they leave the job, they're like, oh, I shouldn't be leaving that.
Yeah, I know. Entrepreneurialism is hard, man. And you're working at first. You're working. If you're doing it right, you're working your tail off, because I mean, you have to do your taxes, you have to do your finances, you have to kind of become a lawyer. You have to learn a lot. So you're working a lot. It's hard at first, but then again, if you look at the number, if you look at the downside of being an entrepreneur versus W-2, if you have the talent for being an entrepreneur, the downside is probably worse for some people being a W-2. You never know if you're going to get laid off, et cetera, versus being an entrepreneur. And so what I would say is obviously do the math. But yes, it's a lot of work, but in the end, I think from a lot of people, it will work out.
So how much money a person need to retire financially? Like,
I can't define that, but what I would say is It's up to each individual person. But going back to my earlier point, all retirement is a long vacation. So if you have money to withstand that long vacation, who knows? Maybe you can retire. I mean, and also remember, that's number one. Number two, people are living a long time. So you got to think about that. Let's say someone retires when they're 50. There's a likelihood that they're going to, live for another 50 years. So they have enough money saved up for all those years. If not, maybe retirement should be put off for a little bit. Depends on the circumstances.
Some people, like tell that there's a rule of 25, right? Whatever you are spending and all over the year, you have to multiply by 25, and that number is your fire number. I'm not sure how true it is.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be even more than that because, again, if someone retires when they're 50, someone retires when they're 60, they're going to need money for another 30 years. So it really depends on the circumstances. Some people want to retire when they're, 40. Yeah, well, you got to make sure you have money to withstand that long vacation, as I mentioned.
And what do you do at your company? Like how your company, what products and what services they provide?
Yeah, we do a couple things. Our moniker at vastsolutionsgroup.com is tax, finance, and artificial intelligence to lower tax liability for entrepreneurs. We've taken on a couple different components within that. We provide financing for real estate. We do bookkeeping. We do some tax prep, mainly tax strategy. Really, some people would say we do almost everything for the small business owner, but everything we do really relates to tax.
So you help them to save taxes.
We legally, by the way, the answer to that is yes.
Mm-hmm. So you use, like you are telling, you use like AI in that, right?
Yeah, we used to use, or no, we still do. Our platform is Einstein. We call it Einstein, and we've been doing AI for years, actually. But obviously now AI has taken on a different role. So now with chat and Claude, et cetera, I'll be honest, be frank, we kind of have to do a little bit of catch up. So we're coming out with a new model, May 15th. It's a new, sorry, I meant April 15th. April 15th, which is VAST 3.0. So it's an updated model of Einstein. And yes, we love lowering taxes legally because a lot of people overpay their taxes. Even the IRS does not want you to overpay your taxes.
So your service is only for small business or also for individuals?
Only, business owners, entrepreneurs. Very, very, very few times will we take on a client who's not an entrepreneur. Really, less than 7% of the time. Usually, it's an entrepreneur.
Okay, so basically, maybe like if someone is individual or making a lot of money, maybe millionaire or something, then you guys can help, right?
Yeah, or sometimes if people want a side gig and they're put together a side gig, sometimes we'll still work with them because there's tax mitigation elements that can be had by side gigs. So it really depends on the circumstance. But what I would say is it's better defined by saying an entrepreneur. 93% of our clients are entrepreneurs.
So how you help them to save taxes? It's like a lot of knowledge which they don't have. So you just fix those variables.
All right. So as an example, I'll just think of one yesterday. A lady called yesterday. She wasn't sure if she should buy a piece of real estate. And we figured out ways that it could help her to lower her tax liability. So that's just one example of what we do. Or we have a client who came to us late last week who has got a ton of risk and paying a lot in taxes. And we kind of formulated a plan for him to kind of put together a structure which it lowered his risk and also made it so he's paying less in taxes. And I was just talking to an attorney who, had a $41,000 tax liability. He came to us, who's referred to us. He wants to, by another attorney, and he wants to lower his tax liability. In just a few minutes on the phone, I explained to him some things that he could do to lower his tax liability. And he said, I didn't even think of it. Well, of course, you're an attorney. You're out there marketing. You're doing what it is that you do. Plus, you're doing legal documents. Of course, you're not going to be able to learn about all the tax code, et cetera. Now, I should also say, I'm not a CPA. We have CPAs and attorneys on staff, but I'm one of those nerds, if you will, that actually reads the tax law because I think it's fun. I think I really enjoy that, at least as it relates to entrepreneurs.
So you're telling like a lady, so she was the owner of some small business.
Yeah.
Okay, so like if a small business wants to rent an office or maybe like buy a office or something, then you help in that as well.
Yeah, usually it's most of our clients are solopreneurs, don't have any employees. I don't know why. That's just our
Mm,
market. So, as an example, usually we'll help them navigate the tax waters, and it can be confusing. Or again, they're doing something that they're doing their legal work as an example. So they don't have time to be able to figure out what the specifics are for the tax law. Luckily, again, we have some CPAs, et cetera, who are on board that luckily are nerdy enough that read that stuff and help them to lower their tax liability.
no, I agree. I agree. Because when you're building a company, is a kind of extra responsibility, right?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense. I mean, they should be building their company. They're going to spend more. They're going to make more money building their company than they are analyzing the tax code. Or, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. So let's just say they pay us whatever the number is, $1,500, $3,000, $5,000 to help them analyze their situation, lower their tax liability. Hopefully, they can be bringing in business that's going to way blow that away per deal. Let's say they're bringing in $20,000 versus spending $5,000. Now, if they're doing a few of those deals, they're going to make a lot more than they would spend on time researching all their tax situation. It just doesn't work.
I agree. So how much revenue on an average your company generates?
Oh, it depends. It really depends. Luckily, we're a small little company. We don't have to define that. But what I would say is we're trying to grow it, grow it, grow and grow it. So if anyone needs any tax mitigation, any real estate financing, we could be a potential group to call or contact, and they could contact us at vastsolutionsgroup.com.
Mm. So you suggest people to invest in real estate or invest more in stock market?
Depends on the circumstance, but we believe as a foundation for investments, real estate. We're big believers in that. We think that it makes a lot of sense to invest in real estate. It's a good income, usually good income producing real estate really makes sense if it's bought on the cheap. Then there's also some tax benefits by investing in real estate. But that's number one. But number two, depending on the circumstance, sometimes it does make sense to invest in the stock market or maybe even Bitcoin or whatever the case is as far as cryptocurrency.
Mm. No, because actually some people they think like if you invest in real estate, your money is gonna stuck. Suppose like tomorrow, if I need some a big chunk of money, then you need to probably like it's not that easy, right? You cannot sell a property in just a one day. But in stock market, some people like okay, whatever money you want, you can just withdraw.
It depends on the circumstance. Sometimes real estate's good for people. Sometimes it's bad. Sometimes stock market's good. Sometimes it's bad. Sometimes Bitcoin's good for people. It really depends on the circumstance. So I'm not going to say one thing fits for every person. That's just not the case.
So like the startups which you help, so obviously you're working in this area from such a long time. So what's the percentage of success for the startups?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that. But what I would say is if a client, if not a client, but if a person, going back to my earlier point, has a passion for whatever they're doing and then has an audience, they're going to succeed. I really believe that.
No, actually, like suppose you you were serving maybe like 100 clients, and
Mm-hmm.
then maybe you're doing it from past 10 years, and then in during course of the time you saw like okay, so like this client is not like anymore because their company didn't work or something like that. So I was just trying to figure out like that if there are 100 companies which you're working with, then what's the probability nowadays that if someone is doing startup, then that it is
Mm-hmm.
going to be succeed and all.
I don't know. Frankly, I don't know that number, but hopefully, if we're working with them, it's a good number.
Okay, okay. So probably you like analyze normally your clients that if they're good and all this, and then only you uh, take that client, right?
Uh, I'm sorry.
I mean to say like first of all, if a client is reaching out to you, you're
Mhm.
gonna analyze them that what kind of business they have and all this thing. And after that, when you feel like that, okay, I should be onboarding this client, and then only you onboard them.
Yeah, usually our clients are pretty big clients. So
Mm,
meaning very few of ours fail, generally speaking.
Oh, okay, okay. Obviously, because if you wanted to build a business, then obviously you will work with the good clients.
Yeah, usually our clients are pretty well heeled. Yeah.
So you have offices in states, or you have also office in Canada?
We do not have an office in Canada. We have an affiliate office in every state um, or regional offices. Like I'm in Washington State. We have offices in California, Texas, Florida, New York. Um, just opening one in Philadelphia. So we have different offices, and then we have
Mhm.
affiliate offices where we refer business back and forth. As an example.
Oh, okay. So you were telling like the financial, like early retirement is overhyped.
Wait a minute. What?
You told like I remember you were telling me like when we were chatting, you were telling me like early retirement is overhyped.
Yeah, I think because I was bored. I got a little bored there at the end. And again, I was working whatever 3 5 hours a week. I got a little bored. So a lot of people think retirement's great, which it is great, but then again, it gets a little boring. You can only whatever golf so much. You can only read the newspaper so much. Sometimes it makes a lot of sense to continue working because some people even say if you don't work, you go downhill physically and mentally.
Mm. I agree. So actually, I would say like if someone has to retire, then you should be figuring out that what you're gonna be do after retirement, right?
Yeah, totally. Like I didn't know that AI was gonna. Well, I knew AI was gonna hit sometime, but not to the extent it did. And now I want to be involved in AI. I'm having time of my life, and I'm even more excited about what's going to happen with quantum computing. Right now is the time to be alive. This is better than the industrial age. This is the AI age. This is the exciting time.
So someone wants to start a company like you. So how they can find clients?
Uh, yeah, that's up to them. I mean, that's the key. And I think social media is pretty important. And also, obviously, start with their friends and family, and then build from there, and then go to down the path of social media, and then advertise, etc.
Mm. Mm. Okay, I think that's it today.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I got answer of all the question, and I think people will enjoy it, and they must have learned a lot of things from our conversation.
Good. All right.
So
Cool.
thank you